Well, guess I already add to the stage. All right, can you hear me, AS?
Yes.
All right. Present my screen here.
It's good to see you. I'm glad that you got these files.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going over them and stuff, but I gotta, from what we covered last time, I'm thinking the mob was involved with the CIA and all this stuff. The documents, I think it's going to be a long, hard dive to get to the real point of what really happened.
Right.
So I'm going to play a couple videos that kind of leads in the direction of the stuff that I want to look for.
Okay. Yeah, after everything last time, I really feel like the mob was involved.
Share this one.
This is mine?
Yeah. Okay. Daughter's coming getting her food. We're live right now, daughter.
Woohoo!
Okay. This guy lays out some pretty crazy aspects.
Everybody knows Trump used to be a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
He was best friends with John F. Kennedy Jr. He said, when I get in, I'm going to tell people about what happened with JFK, but he didn't.
Right.
You know why? Because he found out just who was involved. Turns out some of his friends were involved.
Trump's friends?
Yeah, in the Mossad.
Yeah.
Israel.
You think that Israel was involved in
No
JFK?
question about it, dude. Let me just tell you something. Israel is knee deep in this.
What part? Why would Israel have anything to do with JFK?
Who was Meyer Lansky and Mo Dalitz with? Dude, they wanted dirt on him. Let me ask you another question. Did you find it unusual that our boy Epstein, as soon as they broke into his apartment, what did they find over the mantle? A picture of Bill Clinton in Monica Lewinsky's blue dress.
Right.
Dude, the Mossad is about having information on the states.
Right.
What was I'll give you another one for your conspiracy theory because we didn't talk about it yet.
Yeah, I'm just not buying
How'd they
the
get
connection.
paid off? How'd they get paid off for JFK? Do you know how they got paid off?
How did who get paid off?
The Israel people.
I don't think Israel was involved. I don't know. I haven't seen anything compelling.
You know
for
anything
Israel
about
to be
how
involved in JFK's assassination?
Well, I do. I know they were involved. Okay, those guys. Jack Ruby was a Mossad agent. The Jewish mob was involved. Everybody in the mob was involved for different reasons, but they were involved.
Mm-hmm.
How'd they get paid off? Let's talk about the payoff.
I think it's possible that
you don't want to go there, do you?
No, I do. But I want to explain. I think it's possible that Israel was involved in the process, maybe downstream. But I think top level, I've had this guy on here multiple times. His name's John Newman. He's the guy that everybody who writes JFK books, they all write their books based on his work. He's the guy who's read the over 1 million declassified documents on JFK. He's been studying it his whole life. And his theory of the whole thing is that what happened in Dealey Plaza is all a distraction. He thinks that Dealey Plaza, the reason everybody talks about Dealey Plaza is because it's the exciting thing to talk about. It's where the bullet hit his head, and everything that led up to that is the important part of it.
That's because your boy Newman doesn't know the key pieces. What's the key pieces? What was the payoff? You remember back in early 1960s, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Yes.
And then we had all the shit that was getting ready to come with the Jews and the Arabs about the war in 67 and all that. Mm-hmm. And Israel was really worried about themselves. And they told Kennedy, they first told Eisenhower, that we need a bomb. Our Jewish scientists gave you the fucking bomb. We want the bomb. Eisenhower told them to go fuck themselves. Guess what JFK did? Same thing. In fact, do you know what JFK did right before he died, the year before he died? He actually told the Jewish state, I think it was Ben Gurion, that was the Israeli prime minister at the time, that not only are we not going to give it to you, but we want our guys to go in and examine what you're doing.
Yeah.
And they were furious. Guess what happened when LBJ came in? Magically,
He gave it to him.
some uranium went missing at a place in Pennsylvania. And that is how they started their nuclear program.
Yeah.
Pull that one up, Steve.
Yeah.
It's called, if I'm not mistaken, Dominion or Dimion. It's the Dimion incident that nobody seems to know about. But guess what? That was the payoff. And what's the collateral effect of this, my friend, that Newman probably doesn't want to go to? Turns out we happen to know. There you go. No. This would be, it's put in the search, Israel, Pennsylvania, uranium, fissionable uranium. Pennsylvania. No, get rid of the Dominion. Yeah, uranium fission.
Go to the
Incident. You can leave incident there. Just get rid of the other thing.
uranium incident. There you go.
If a man really hated ads, here's what he would do.
Yes. So it's pretty crazy how deep this stuff goes, like deeper than Oswald.
So he's saying that the Jewish mob and the other mob, Mossad, basically was involved, and the payoff was uranium to start the missile crisis, or to do.
Well, they were scared of the war, so they wanted nuclear weapons so they could defend themselves. Israel did. So they were working to get those weapons because of tensions and stuff that were going on, with Russia and everyone else.
So is
From what I'm
uranium only
gathering.
found here? They don't.
Well, Russia and the United States is the only ones that process nuclear material down to uranium and stuff like that to make a nuclear weapon.
Okay. Very interesting. Be careful with how long you let it play, though, because sometimes you'll get in trouble for
Fair.
that.
1965 incident.
Oh, I don't care if they. I mean, I don't. I really don't care when it comes to this stuff.
In which the U.S. company in Pennsylvania lost a large amount of highly enriched uranium that was suspected to be sent to Israel's nuclear weapons program.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. Well,
So hold on. I'm not done yet.
okay.
You're going to have to hold on for me now. Now I'm going to run your podcast.
He is, though.
This
He
is your
is
show.
running this
No,
podcast.
He does that when he goes on here. He got a lot of knowledge like this. He's a brain surgeon for one. And
Okay.
he uses a lot of self-healing things that regular medical people don't use. And his patients heal faster than most brain surgeon patients do when they have brain surgery.
Oh,
He's
wow.
like
Okay.
really, really good at his work, and he's really knowledgeable on all this stuff. He worked with RFK and all kinds of people to try to help them get rid of the jab and all this stuff. This video right here, Danny Jones, everyone needs to go visit his page. And the link is on X underneath the post I made for this live. So you can go to his channel on X and on YouTube, and you need to watch this full show because it is mind-blowing, the stuff that he brings up in this show. But back to JFK, here we go.
Here's the second thing that happens, the collateral effect. I think the guy you had on told you a little bit about this. This is the Ian Carroll cat.
Mm-hmm.
That all the Jews showed up in New York before 9/11 happens, and they're all in the
Dancing
art.
Israelis?
No.
Oh, the art thing. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you know why? because the Mossad trained the 4 Arabs to take the planes over and run them in the building.
Mm-hmm.
Got it? And what was the point of that? What was the point of that? Point of that was one point. You can pull this up. Is the Patriot Act was walking around Washington, D.C. from 1999 all the way to 2000.
Right.
And everybody said, there's no way you can get this in. And George Bush said, hold my beer.
Yep.
And
you familiar
Cheney,
with Thomas Drake?
Bro, I'm just telling you.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you here.
Well, if you agree with that, then you better learn about that because that was the payoff for JFK. And they've been involved ever since. And guess what? That brings us to current events with Jeffrey Epstein. Now let's really make it current. Who's the new Jeffrey Epstein?
P. Diddy.
P. Diddy.
Same exact prosecutor they used for Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, guess what? Bro, this is the same ball game, bro. I'm just telling.
That's crazy.
History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes awfully.
I'm a little
loud.
confused. So he's saying that Mossad trained the people to do 9/11, and why though? For what reason? And for what reason are we relating it to Epstein? I'm still confused.
Well, it's the same agencies that are doing this stuff. Like, supposedly, Israel created, a lot of terrorist groups to be able to cipher money from the United States, and the United States helped create, help with bin Laden and all this stuff to start wars. And what they wanted was regime change in all these countries. And they've actually came out and admitted it back when Russia was trying to make a deal with Clinton to be part of NATO. But they didn't want Putin to know that, hey, NATO is to go after your ass. It ain't for protection against other countries that might gain nuclear power. It's basically all these countries we're surrounding you, and and all those countries around there basically went through regime change, and they're doing it all over the world, like everywhere. They're getting people out of government and knocking out their presidents or whatever they want to call them, the people that are running their country, and they're installing people from the CIA and the Mossad agents and stuff like that, and instead that way they can keep coups going because they make money off of war.
Yeah. Interesting.
Basically, that's my understanding. Anybody else can come up and say something else if they want, and hey, I have half a mind to believe it because as of right now, I could believe just about anything because our government is crazy.
Oh, I definitely agree with that.
Well, let's play the rest of this guy because I got a couple more we want to get through before we get to the documents and start driving through those.
And I'm telling you right now, everybody needs to know this story. Every last piece of it is connected.
John's big point about JFK, he thinks that the big picture of it is that General Lemitzer and Taylor, they wanted a nuclear war. They wanted to nuke China and they wanted to nuke Russia.
Right.
And they had a meeting in June of 63 or 62 where Bobby Kennedy
did he
Sr.
ever tell you why that was the case? I'm just curious.
He probably did. I'm not remembering off the top of my head.
Because both of them were proteges of Groves, and that's what Groves wanted to do.
Okay.
And Groves stepped out. Who stopped Groves? Eisenhower.
Right.
Remember what Eisenhower said in 1961? Farewell speech?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh. Are you starting to see now what Groves did? He went outside the military.
So he's talking about the industrial complex, from Eisenhower, that the industrial complex is taken over. And Eisenhower is trying to warn people before he left that they needed to keep an eye on it so it wouldn't take over our government. Well, it took over our government.
Right.
And that's why all this stuff is happening.
And still had control over the Joint Chiefs of Staff, all during Eisenhower and Kennedy's presidency. And you know what the interesting thing is? Who opened up China in 1971? Nixon. Who was
Right.
Nixon the vice president of? Eisenhower.
Right.
Bro, I mean, how many things do I have to keep fucking knocking down for you?
You're knocking them down, man. I'm not denying it. You're on it. I think the JFK assassination, though, I think like many things can be true at once. I think there was a lot of things going on there. One of the biggest smoking gun that John uncovered was there was an FBI flash stop on Oswald's file. The FBI was watching Oswald. They had a flash on his file, and a week before the assassination, it was removed from his file. So he basically says Oswald being on that route in Dallas was the equivalent of a flea being at a Lysol convention. There's no way he should have been there. The flash stop was removed.
But you got to remember something. There was a reason he was there.
Right.
He was working with the FBI agent on Magazine Street. That is documented in Judith Ferry's book. See, I'm going to tell you about Newman. He doesn't know fucking shit about Judith Ferry Baker. He doesn't know anything about that. That's the reason you got to go back to him and say, bro, you're missing huge parts. I can tell he doesn't know shit about this Linac, but dude, I'm the guy that worked with that Linac.
Yeah, so this guy lays down a lot of information real quick, fast, in a hurry. So
Yeah, I'm a little confused still, but I'm picking up most of what he's laying down.
yeah, so in other words, he's okay. For what I'm going to show you next is another video of a mob guy. Now I'm giving you the aspect from a government, Mossad agents, Israel, and all this stuff, but there's a mob aspect to it too, and it's all about the money.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're the government and you want somebody to kill the president, who, I mean, at a time when support for the president was astronomical, I mean, you know, 4th of July picnics and things like that were the place to be. We were very much a patriotic country. And most people, especially the military, you go to them and say you want something like that done, they're going to look at you like you've got 12 eyeballs. So if you want somebody to do something like that, yeah, I could definitely see you going to the mob, because you want a crime done, you go to the people who commit crimes, and the mob's going to do it because then they've got one up on you. That's the whole thing about the mob is, yeah, they do favors so they can hold it, so they have something on you and hold it over your head. And the government comes to the mob saying, you know, I want you to kill the president. They're gonna have a lifetime worth of credit with them. Like, oh, you owe me. You better do this for me. You better let my boy off the hook, or I'm gonna tell what happened. And I could definitely see that happening.
Well, you'll see in this video that about the mob. The next two I got are people from the mob telling the story.
Yep.
And you'll see that it was the government used in the mob, but the mob was part of JFK because JFK's father used to run, Mount Lightning. He used to run White Lightning everywhere and whiskey and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
And so there's a lot of stuff to it. And JFK was trying to take all these things down, and so the mob was after him. The military was after him, and the military industrial complex was after him because he wouldn't go to war in Vietnam. He wouldn't, the whole, like all the wars that they tried to start, he wouldn't fall for it.
Yeah.
But here's this one. It's real interesting.
Well, in the book, you also talked about Kennedy's assassination. You said Frank Sinatra, who's a good friend of yours, was the go-between with the mob and the Kennedys. JFK and Sinatra were great pals.
Well, yeah, I was early on with that when he was a senator. I used to go to Vegas every other weekend, and I saw them all there. And Bobby, and I mean not Bobby, but John. Bobby was not a part of it until he got elected, but John was a great guy, man. I didn't know who the target was. I thought it was going to be Bobby, because I remember flying. One of my last trips, I flew to Dallas, and somebody picked me up that I knew and took me 30 miles out, and I had a suitcase, and I knew it was full of money, and I dropped it off, came home, saw Costello that morning, and that night is when Lyndon Baines Johnson announced he's going to be the running mate, because they made a deal with him, because they were very optimistic. They said, John will do the first 8 and you'll do the next 8, because they already had Truman at that time. They already had Nixon. The mob owned those guys. That's why when they wanted Jimmy Hoffa out of prison, Nixon pardoned him, because he found God and he was going to come out and get rid of Frank Fitzsimmons, because we just borrowed like almost $200 million of the brothers' pension fund to build Las Vegas.
Well, you said my errand to Marcello was involved in the master plan to assassinate.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, very interesting. And I've heard a lot about Jimmy Hoffa. I don't know that story very well, but that's interesting. But it goes back to what I was saying. Like, I mean, I could definitely see the mob owning Nixon. I mean, they that goes back to, you know, them doing favors for each other. Like the mob, if the mob does a favor for you, or you get in with the mob, they're going to use you all the way up to the president, vice president, or whatever. They're going to say, you do this for me, or I'm going to snitch on you, or whatever, you know. It's not hard to believe.
The CIA was heavily involved with the mob. And
Yeah.
so were all the politicians. You got to remember Frank Sinatra and you know, the gang, the Rat Pack, all that stuff. They act like they were mobsters. You know, they had that swag, that monster swag. I mean, look at how he's dressed.
Yeah.
And it was a real popular thing back then. So everyone kind of wanted to be in the club. Well, including the CIA. Las Vegas was where they pulled off a lot of the MK Ultra stuff. The marshmallow experiment and stuff, how they ran their lighting and their and everything in the casinos and all that stuff, that all come from the marshmallow experiments and stuff that the CIA and shit was doing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's in the video we watched before on the Danny Jones, that show that you got to watch that whole thing. Like, I want to do a live just on that show that he did with Dr. Cruz. I want to do a whole live just on that, because there's just so much in that one video. It's insane. Danny Jones even gets overwhelmed with the information and stuff, and he finds it hard to believe. But I'm sitting here laying down the evidence that everything he's saying is true.
Yeah. That's real interesting, because we've known for a long time that they do that stuff in the casinos to make people kind of, I mean, everything is addicting now, and it's a lot of propaganda. Even the lights on the TV, when you watch TV, even YouTube, they do that stuff that's real addicting, to get you addicted to it, and dopamine hits. I definitely can see the CIA. I didn't realize that the CIA was involved in aspects of it. I mean, but I could definitely understand how it came from the CIA and MK Ultra.
Yeah, they're
That's
wrapped up in the Google and all that stuff. That's how they get entry to all the websites and they get to spread their propaganda through these websites on Google and Microsoft. You know, Bill Gates, you know, gets to run around, spray shit in your air, and
Yeah.
just do all kinds of horrendous things because they're all part of it.
Right.
They're in the club.
Yeah.
God knows what kind of club and what their true agenda is in the end. I don't know, but it's not looking good for everybody.
No, it sure is not.
But that's why Dr. Cruz was wearing those glasses, because there's something about the blue light that comes off of computers, TVs, and all that stuff. That's why they went to digital computers in the casino and stuff like that, because it produces higher dopamine hits.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why he was wearing those glasses. That it takes the blue light, it redshifts it to where it don't mess with your brain.
Oh, wow. I need some of them.
Yeah, if you're going to be looking at a computer or your phone a lot, they say that those glasses right there protect you.
Assassinate Kennedy. I'd played a role, small as it was, while I was literally only the messenger.
Yeah, I mean, I could, and again, with Costello being 2 steps ahead of everybody, when I met him and I came back after seeing Marcellus, I brought an envelope to him. I had to go to the bathroom, and he said, somebody's in there. So I was staying at the bar because the bathroom door was right there. And when the guy came out, he bunked into me. I paid no attention to the guy. I went to the bathroom, went to see Marcellus, and I was about to sit down, have a great dish of pasta vongole, because the chef knew I liked it. And he said, no, get back to New York. So I went right back to New York. And I said, what's the message? He said, it's on. I said, that's the whole message. He said, he'll know what it is. So I meet him the next morning. And he said, what's the message? I said, it's on. So he had a manila envelope with about $15,000 in cash for me and some paperwork. He said, I signed you on the Independence, the ship. I said, where am I going? He said, just don't worry about it. The first port is going to be Barcelona, Spain. Get off the boat. Somebody will meet you there. So, okay. I never asked him any questions because I was traveling all over the world, had a great life. And I know by other people, if they asked him a couple of questions, he'd get pretty annoyed with them. So I didn't want to, I didn't want to lose this guy. So now I'm on the boat. We're going under the Verrazano Bridge. And they announce on the PA system that the president was shot, not killed yet. And all the pilot boats came. People were getting off the boats, men, basically, because this was a 30-day trip. And I'm saying to myself, all these broads are going to be on a boat. Man, it's all these broads. I loved it. Not realizing the seriousness. The next morning, they had a newspaper on the ship. And the guy that came out of the bathroom was Lee Harvey Oswald. That was Marcellus, the shooter. Chicago shooter was the kill shooter. The kill shot was Johnny Roselli. He was in the storm sewer. But it wasn't until...
See, he's saying Johnny Roselli.
And
that
that's
guy that we watched last time. What was his name?
I don't remember, but that name sounds familiar. I think it might have been him.
No, it wasn't him. He was working with him.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, he worked like really close with him. Particularly if I bring it up on here on my phone.
Whip out that phone. Yeah, don't you love how when you're live and you're trying to find something real quick and it doesn't never work?
Yeah, I got the interview here on my phone.
I remember him talking about that guy. It might have been the guy he said he was that, because people said they saw him with somebody else, and he was talking about he bit a bullet casing and left it there, but they found the bullet casing or something, and he was working with another guy and they met at a diner and all kinds of things. But he talked about several people, which, I mean, I don't remember which one, but I remember him saying that name. That name is very familiar to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out James E.
Oh yeah, the James E.
The,
file.
yeah, the James E. Files. He worked with that guy he just mentioned, and didn't he just say that the guy come out of the Lee Harvey Oswald come out of the bathroom
Yeah, and that
when
the
they heard
Chicago guy. Yeah, and
when
the
they heard that he
Chicago
got
guy.
shot?
Oh, I didn't even make that connection.
Listen, let's listen to that part again.
Was
Okay.
Marcellus the shooter? Chicago shooter was the kill shooter. The kill shot
Hold on,
was
a
Johnny
little bit before
Roselli,
that.
a newspaper on the ship. And the guy that came out of the bathroom was Lee Harvey Oswald. That was Marcellus the shooter. Chicago shooter was the kill shooter. The kill shot was Johnny Roselli.
See,
And I'm saying to myself, all these broads are going to be on a boat. Man, it's all these broads. I loved it. Not realizing the seriousness. The next morning, they had a newspaper on the ship. And the guy that came out of the bathroom was Lee Harvey Oswald. That was Marcellus the shooter.
see, that's crazy. They already had him in the paper,
Yeah.
and he was on that boat. So how in the hell was he in Texas?
Yeah, that's crazy. He wasn't. I mean, obviously it was a setup. It was a they botched it. They did it themselves.
I mean, they already had the paper printed out.
Yeah. Wow.
Chicago shooter was the kill shooter. The kill shot was Johnny Roselli. He was in the storm sewer. But it wasn't until years later when they did that graphic that.
But see, that's where he got messed up between that other guy that we watched the interview. It wasn't Roselli. Roselli helped planned it. He used his side guy to shoot him. The
Yeah.
guy that because him and Roselli went and did hits together. You know, he talked about putting the canary in the dude's throat
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And Roselli got mad as hell.
Yep. Yep. I remember that.
It's been sent around. That bullet had to ricochet and go in 10 different ways. But the bullet, and it was funny, both assassins were trained by the Marines. Johnny Roselli and Santo Trafficante was trained by the CIA to kill Fidel Castro. That was one of their plots. They even created a powder because he used to powder his beard for itchiness. They put a powder with poison in it. The anesthesiologist created it. This guy was a mastermind on stuff. But Castro never fell for any of it. And they didn't get him, obviously. But the funniest thing is, even Lee Harvey Oswald was a Marine and trained as a marksman. And here they kill the president of the United States. It's craziness. But Lyndon Baines Johnson brought him to the target.
See, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to kill Castro, and they think that Lee Harvey Oswald was telling him, like he was meeting with him and telling him what they were going to do next. They tried to use cigars. They tried to
Mm-hmm.
they tried to use powder, like he just said. They tried to use all kinds of shit. That I forget how many times they tried to kill him, but they never were able to because
Nope.
someone he had an informant on the inside.
Yep. That was pulling him in. You know, they say that the Prime Minister of Canada is his son. Is
I wouldn't
Castro's
doubt
son.
it. I wouldn't doubt it, considering he liked putting powder on his face. That ain't all he likes putting on his face. Anyway,
Oh Lord.
let's go look at some other stuff. Here I got.
All right. Take me down these YouTube streets.
Yeah. Now this guy said he didn't really know. This next guy, he's real popular. I think he's been on Joe Rogan and all kinds of stuff. but he pretty well gives highlights on the subject though. So I'll share my screen here in a second.
All right.
This
See,
is on the Brave podcast.
so he said that it was done from the storm surge drain, from where the storm surge goes, and that means it would be done from underground, basically in the sewer area.
Yeah, but like I forget exactly. Like I'd have to watch the interview again with the guy in prison, but he said he's seen his head lunge forward, and that's how his shot. Like he said, he missed. He didn't miss, but he didn't hit him exactly where he wanted to. You remember he said he had a scope on that.
Yeah.
I think it was called the Fireball
Yep.
rifle,
Mm-hmm.
and so he thinks like both of their shots connected, but his shot is the one that killed him because his shot's the one that put his brains out on the back of the back of the car like that.
Yeah.
Not to be so graphic, it's a horrible thing that they did that, but
Oh, I know.
we're working with a wicked government, and like just finding this stuff out that the CIA has done and other agencies have done, it just shows you how much work we got ahead of us to even try to fix any of this stuff. You know,
Yep.
all the fraud going on in our government, you know, you got it all the way up to USAID and all these agencies and these NGOs and all this stuff. And people think that they're fighting for the right causes, but they really
Right.
don't know how deep this rabbit hole is and what they're really fighting for. You know, they're gonna give you crocodile tears to cry. You know, oh, bring me that little baby, I'm starving to death, and then they'll eat the baby. You know,
Yeah.
and you think, oh well, he was starving to death, he was about to die, so I gave him the baby, and you know that's pretty much what you're doing. That's
Yeah.
how sad it is that they mess with people's brain this hard with propaganda, and they just don't understand how crooked. Maybe what I'm hoping from the JFK files, if anything, it shines a light on all this stuff where everybody can come together, Republican, Democrat, and realize that, you know, it's the government. It's the
Yeah.
programs in the government. It's all these three-letter agencies. These all these, you know, all this terrorism and all this shit is just made up bullshit to keep people fighting and them to keep making money
Yep.
off of death. Somehow they found a way to make money off of people just dying like crazy. It's one way to get people off the lawn, I guess. But here's this guy. Oh,
Involvement of mafia.
there we go.
I've heard so many. Sammy, I've heard a lot of stories with, what happened with John F. Kennedy and the involvement of mafia, and I've heard so many different stories. What do you know about what happened with John F. Kennedy?
I don't really know. There's so many people who are possible candidates for that. But to make it into a shorter story, the FBI, when I had cooperated, came to me, and I was in Quantico, and they said, "This guy's going to come down to you and ask you some really high-level questions." I said, "All right." They came down, a bunch of guys in suits, and they said the same thing you said. "What do you know about Kennedy?" Is that it? Yeah. From what I understand, you guys should know. You guys participated in this hit. It wasn't a mafia dude on that grassy hill. You people, whoa, scrub this. And they all left. John Kennedy was good. He was with the mob. He did everything he was asked, and then some. His father was a bootlegger.
Well, I think that was a little bit of a cover for their guy because it was a mob on the grassy knoll. There's that guy in prison. He straight up admitted to it being him.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're not going to throw your own people under the bus.
No. And I mean,
Oh,
at a
yes,
time,
all the Kennedys have
Oh,
dirty laundry. But
Go ahead.
oh, I was just saying at a time when this wasn't talked about so openly as well. I mean, people are just now starting to talk about it, and these files have just now been released. Um, I mean, you know, it's something that hasn't been talked about. I mean, as openly as it should be for so long. Like you know, the government's just now releasing files on it, and they didn't even really want to. You know, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and what's really crazy is all the people that were involved, you know, they're long since passed. Why can't all this information come out? Well, we just seen from the video we just watched a while ago of the guy that was in the mob that was on the damn boat with Lee Harvey Oswald coming out of the bathroom getting the paper the next day. He wasn't too young, and he's pretty old now, but he's still alive.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of these people that are still alive. I'm
Yeah.
thinking that when Trump released the other files, that there's stuff in there that they're not telling us. They're just hoping that people don't go look. They're going to tell you that, oh, there was a big nothing burger. That's what they do on all these platforms. They tell you, oh, there was nothing in there. There's nothing in there. When really these people are so lazy, they read headlines of the news. They never actually dig into the documents themselves. Like it's
Yeah.
like we're going to cover some of the documents and we're going to read through them, and I'm going to show you how not so easy it is to get through these documents and to find anything. Like
Right.
like I was going through the ones from 2023 that I think they finally let go in 2023 under the orders that Trump gave. Like there's been some releases over time, and none of this stuff is being reported on or gone through because I mean, like I was reading through one, it was talking about hijacking a plane and all kinds of stuff. Like, why is that in the JFK files? Like
Right.
it should only be about, you know, the JFK files should be about his assassination. So
Well, not if they released everything that has to do with JFK, but I haven't seen the files, so I don't know what all they released. I mean, if it's called the JFK files, it could be everything to do with JFK and his presidency and everything. I don't know.
yeah, well, if they're doing it that way, they're deceiving the people. First off, they're purposely overloading the material that you have to go through. So
Yeah.
you really have to go through a lot of material. I mean, like I think that one page was like almost 300 and something PDF files.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you're telling me there's no way these news agencies went through all these because each PDF file could have I don't know how many pages on it. Some of them only have one, some of them have 20. You know, I've seen them, they could be way, way long. Some of them have
Right.
pictures, some of them have, you know, it's all different kinds of stuff. So you have to dig through every bit of that stuff. Like you would need an agency alone to be able to dig through all the PDF files and go through each one and then have a board where you're actually linking all this stuff together because the JFK files when people hear that they're assuming that it's about the assassination attempt.
Right.
You know, they want all the stuff that goes along with the assassination attempt. Well, there's the JFK files, it's got everything in there.
Yeah.
It's it's like this one guy I heard him say on X is like trying to find a needle in the haystack with no needle.
Right.
Like by the time they figure out that there ain't nothing in there, the real stuff's probably already burnt.
Yeah.
So we can go through it, and we're going to go through some of it, and I'm going to try to dig through some of it on my own. But it's a lot of stuff that, I mean, if it relates to it, I guess it's a whole history of how it came about that they ended up offing him. But it seems like we're getting closer to the truth by watching these videos than we are reading the damn files.
And that's a shame.
Yeah, it is. But no one's correlating these things together. There's very few people that put a show together that actually correlate the mob with the CIA and all this stuff, like that Danny Jones podcast. We might go back to that and go through some more of that stuff, like the marshmallow experiment, because it shows you the links of the Mossad and the CIA. They all work together.
Yeah, and it's crazy to hear that, because you hear that, they're our enemies, or,
Yeah, they're
we
our
don't like them.
enemies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't want you to be part of the club. They're going to
exactly.
keep you hating, just like how they talk about Russia and other countries. Oh, there's poor people. Well, there's poor people here. You've been to California lately? I mean,
Mm.
it's pretty bad.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, who's to say that they ain't just blowing smoke up our butts to keep us from ever wanting to find out the truth and let anybody else know about it.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear some more about JFK's father.
They were with us. All the Kennedys have dirty laundry. Bobby Kennedy couldn't stand the fact that the mafia helped make him win the election. He went to war with the mob. He went to war with Jimmy Hoffa. He went to war with the head of the FBI, Hoover. He went to war with everybody. He made so many enemies from a guy that was loved, John Kennedy, and the father who was respected was a bootlegger, and they were living up to their word. There are so many enemies, who knows? Rumor has it that there's a whole concoction mixed with them all, but I don't know. For sure, I have no idea for in a positive way. Just what I hear from rumors and stuff like that.
See, and that's the Kennedy everyone remembers right there. And
Yeah.
that's what
Do you
makes
know
it
what?
a sad, tragic event.
Do you know what they did to their daughter? I think her name was Rose, or it started with an R. But do you know what they did to her? She was a Kennedy, and she was, I think she was like, I don't know what you would call it. I know she tended to be a bit promiscuous, maybe borderline personality disorder or some ADHD or something. There was something like that going on with her. She was promiscuous. She was basically giving the family a bad name, okay? And so the doctors, she was seen by a psychiatrist, and they gave her a lobotomy. Do you know what a lobotomy is?
That's where they take all your hormone stuff out or whatever.
No, that's the ice pick looking thing in your eye, and they basically stir it around and mess up your frontal lobe. Okay, it's like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, you see pictures of it from back in the day. They stopped doing it because it's a horrible thing. Well, the thing about that was they would tell their patients, usually female, they would tell them to sing, and they would stick this ice pick thing. They would go in like right above your eyeball and into your eye socket, and they would just stick it into your frontal lobe, into the part of your brain, and it would like basically make you a zombie. Okay. Well, Rosemary, I believe is her name. She loved to sing, and so she sang and just sang and sang, and the way they did it was when the patient stopped singing, they would stop. Well, she sang and sang and sang, and they basically they botched it. They did it really bad. They did it too much to her. and she was never, I mean, you wouldn't be right again after that, but she was real bad messed up, and her family did that to her, all because she was a little promiscuous and gave the family a bad name. It's really sad.
Yeah, it's insane what I mean, and his dad was part of the mob and all this shit, and they help Kennedy get in the presidency. Like, and there's bad things that Kennedy did, with Marilyn Monroe and
Right.
all this stuff. I think the main gist of the story and why it's so sad is when they managed to kill someone right in front of the public eye, and it being the president. I think that shook people more than anything, is that could happen now, and
Yeah,
that happened in that moment in time. Things changed.
absolutely.
People started realizing how corrupt things really were, but they really wasn't. Back then, people wasn't too outspoken about controversial things,
Right.
because they had a status in their community and they didn't want to, it meant something to them. So they just had to keep that shit to themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think if anything, this shows that's how bad it is. And 9/11 is not a far-fetched thing.
No, it's only gotten worse since then.
Yeah, Lord knows what they're willing to do now. I mean, they're stroking war with Russia that could cause a nuclear holocaust for the whole world.
Yeah, and we
Like,
saw what they did with the vaccines. I mean,
yeah, look how many people got off by that, getting, treatment that causes your liver to shut down and your lungs to fill up with water, and then giving you over breathing treatment with oxygen that blows up your lungs and just drowns you.
yep.
Yeah. Old Fauci with the cure.
While he simultaneously got freaking beagles, I think it was, in a damn habit of getting attacked by fleas and their heads in a thing where they can't even do nothing about it. I mean, what is the purpose of that? You sick bastard. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He is a sick bastard, man. I hope when they get his ass, they do the same damn thing to his ass.
Yeah, they need to. That's just fucking
That ought to
sick.
be how it gets done too.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be able to go quietly in the night. Not to mention all the baby graveyard he had outside his clinic. It's crazy the shit he done.
I haven't
Anyway,
even seen, I don't think I could
here's
look
this
into
part
that.
right here.
الأمم المتحدة الجمعية العامة المتحدة بتفتح ملف اغتيال كندي الرئيس الأمريكي. لماذا؟ نبغى نعرفه. قتله واحد اسمه لي هارفي. واحد اسمه جاك روبي قتل لي هارفي قاتل كندي. لماذا قتله؟ جاك روبي إسرائيلي قتل لي هارفي اللي قاتل كندي. لماذا هذا الإسرائيلي يقتل قاتل كندي؟ ثم جاك روبي قاتل كندي مات قبل إعادة محاكمته في ظروف غامضة. لماذا؟ ارجع الملفات لازم نعرفها. انا اللي نعرفها والعالم ممكن يعرفها واللي درسناها في التاريخ ان كندي قرر تفتيش مفاعل ديمونه الاسرائيلي، هل في قنابل ذريه والا لا؟ وعلشان كذا تم تخلص منهم. الامم المتحده
See, talking about the nuclear weapons and stuff.
الجمعيه العامه المتحده بتفتح
Yeah.
And watch it again.
اغتيال كندي الرئيس الامريكي. لماذا؟ نبغى نعرفه. قتله واحد اسمه لي هارفي. واحد اسمه جاك روبي قتل لي هارفي قاتل كندي. لماذا قتله؟ جاك روبي إسرائيلي قتل لي هارفي اللي قاتل كندي. لماذا هذا الإسرائيلي يقتل قاتل كندي؟ ثم جاك روبي قاتل كندي مات قبل إعادة محاكمته في ظروف غامضة. لماذا؟ ارجع الملفات لازم نعرفها، انا اللي نعرفها والعالم ممكن يعرفها. واللي درسناه في التاريخ ان كندي قرر تفتيش مفاعل ديمونه الاسرائيلي، هل في قنابل ذريه والا لا، وعلشان كده تم تخلص منهم.
See, that was exactly what Dr. Cruz was talking about.
Yep.
He even named it exactly. And you know who this guy is, right?
No, I don't. Who is he?
Gaddafi. Hillary had him drug out in the street and killed.
Why?
Hillary Clinton did.
What was
Probably
her
because
reasoning? I mean,
probably because of what he just did there. That
Mm.
you see that's the UN where he's at speaking.
Oh, I didn't
can
realize.
tell. Yeah, the paneling on the back of the wall, that's marble stone masonry behind him. That's at the UN.
Oh, wow.
You'll see that behind every speaker. That's how you'll know it's at the UN. I do believe. But yeah, he sat there and mentioned every single thing that Dr. Cruz was speaking of.
Yep. That's
But here are
crazy.
the files. And this is what everyone wants to wait for. That will take years to go through. But look, a release in 2023. Wasn't that after Trump?
Yeah. I mean,
2022, 2021.
yeah, that would have been after Trump. We are in obviously 2025 now, so it would have been 2 years ago.
Yeah. There were some releases, these right here, 2017, 18, 21, 22, 23, and this is 25. But I'll pull these up, and like you get stuff like this right here.
Oh,
I'm gonna
okay.
try to blow it up a little bit. But basically, they were talking about Lee Harvey Oswald, and he had went to Russia. I don't know if you can read that.
I'll try. Can you make it any bigger or no?
Yeah, I'm trying to right now. It's loading.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Okay, now see if you can like move it over. Sometimes it won't let you. Try to get it. Yeah, that I'll try like that. Because you have to keep it like in the middle so that I can read it all the way across. Okay. Dear Anthony, regarding your letter 6705 of 10th of May 1980 or 62, our records indicate that variety validation Valerie, and then it's the last name, traveled to Mexico, France, Spain, then US and Cuba during the period 1959 to 61. In 61, he was assigned permanently to Mexico City as a consular officer and served there until August 1965. He was, I can't read that word, vicariously described as a translator, vice consul, and attaché during the tour he attempted to cultivate the U.S. government employee assigned to our embassy in Mexico City. In September and October of 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald approached the Soviet embassy in Mexico City in an attempt to get a visa allowing him to return to the USSR. Kotlyachov, as a consular officer, handled this visa request. We have no information which indicates any relationship between these individuals other than for the purpose of Oswald making his visa request. Katlov returned to Mexico City for a second tour of duty in July of 1968. During this tour, he was... Sorry, my eyes just got watery. He was again assigned to the consular section and was a second secretary. It appeared that he was tasked with following the activities of the Central American Communist Party and left-wing groups, and he met often with members of these groups, reportedly providing them with funds and technical guidance. In July and August of 1969, Katlov made an annual toy trip, TDY or TOY trip to Moscow, lasting 3 weeks. His family remained in Mexico. In July of 1970, he made a 4-day trip to Ravana. Katlov's tour in Mexico ended unexpectedly. Your brain thing is in the way, but I'm going to read the bottom the best I can. Katlov's tour in Mexico ended unexpectedly in September of 1971. Our information indicated that something not due to that
he was not due to leave for another 3 or 4 months, and at the time of his departure, there was some speculation that the sadness of his departure was due to the fact that he was known to Laelian. We got like some kind of picture of the guy here.
Oh,
can't
wow.
see it because of the damn brain thing.
Hold on. There you go. While in Mexico, he was considered by some to be the most effective and dangerous of intelligence officers in Mexico. He had been described as being without morals, education, and manners. Shortly after his arrival in Mexico in 1968, he was arrested in front of a house of prostitution after becoming involved in a fistfight with some locals. It appears this incident did not affect his position in Mexico City, despite the fact that it received a good deal of press coverage. We are aware only that Kotlov arrived in Beirut in July of 1978. We were unable to confirm his presence there now. Although our file indicates that Kotlov may be a member of Department 13, Executive Action, Department V's presser, we have been unable to confirm this. Also, to the best of our knowledge, the KGB has not engaged in such executive action since 1959. Sincerely, David Blee.
So in a way, they're admitting up to doing some crazy shit, but they ain't been doing it here recently, they say.
Yeah, basically.
But this is what you'll find in there. Now tell me what that's got to do with JFK.
Well, it talks about Lee Harvey Oswald, but you see it jumping from like 1978 and then back to 60s. And what year was he killed? Like 1960 something, I thought. Thought it was like 1962. I know it was November 2nd or 6th or 8th, and I thought it was 1962. I'm not sure.
1963.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I'm trying to figure out like how this is helping anybody.
I don't know.
Like I'll show you where I'm going and clicking on stuff, and that way you can see that that was one of the other. I think that one was either that one or I think these are all about Lee Harvey Oswald being in Russia. But you can go down here and I'll just click on like this one right here.
Okay.
And we'll look at it and see what it is.
And this is just 11 to 20 of 2,343 entries. Jeez Louise.
Yeah. Like, and it's only been what, a week since this stuff has been out? Like a week at the most. And
Ain't been long.
people are all out there saying, it's another nothing burger and all that. There's no damn way. I don't care how many people you got that you can dig through all these files and there may not be nothing there, but I don't think you looked. Like
Well,
I
they
can
can use
honestly say there's no way they looked through it all.
they're using AI and possibly keywords to go through it.
Yeah,
Would be what I would think.
so if they don't find the keywords that they put in there, they'll just say that there's nothing in it.
Right, and you got to think about language has changed. I mean, the font, the way it's written out and it's entered into the system could affect AI. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff in it, and if people would go through it individually, you would probably
Yeah,
find stuff.
that's what you're gonna have to do. Like you're just gonna have to bounce through all these
Hmm.
PDFs. Like don't even try to do it on your phone because it'll take you forever. Um,
Right.
on a laptop you can bounce through these pretty quick, but still, like you said, that's a lot of documents.
Yeah.
And each one of them have one or hundreds of pages in them. You don't know. You never know how many pages are in each PDF.
Yeah.
Like not all of them are one pagers.
Right.
Like this one right here was a fax received, appears to be incomplete, cover sheet, cable station, traces. Like it's really it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing to us, but you look at okay, they do codes, okay? Like you got these codes here
Hmm.
and down here, and like you'll see where they put in quotations 14.6, 14.6, 2.4, 14.6, like, and all these things. These were things that I think were covered up, and they uncovered them. They were redacted
Yeah.
for some reason.
I
So
mean, you have to.
the real information, you would have to be someone that worked in the CIA or the FBI to understand what those numbers meant in letters. Like this right here, you would know what that meant.
Right.
you would know what all this extra meant, and it would actually mean something, or else they would have. There's something to it, but not enough that we can figure out.
Yeah, not without going through everything line by line.
Yeah, I mean, but you still wouldn't know if you didn't know the code book.
Yeah.
How, you know, like like when they pull you over in a car and they suspect you of something, they they get on the radio and they call out a bunch of numbers and codes. So,
Yeah.
it don't they don't say, hey, he's got a bag of weed. They'll say, 420 something something, just for randomness, but they'll say something stupid instead of just saying we got him for crack. They'll say we got him on a 57 IOU fucking whatever. but
Yeah.
but they use numbers and characters to relate to stuff, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But like, here's these right here. We'll go down to the end and just click on one of these. And seeing this is about Cuba.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people have tied Cuba to the assassination, but I see what you're saying. There's nothing in here specifically relating it to the assassination.
Cuba review on 1/10/63 records of the special NSC. Like, it's not broken down in layman's terms for you, but see, there's a lot of documents in this one. Covert operations.
Oh wow. That might, I mean, it's covert oh my goodness, operations from 1954 to 60 something. So that might have it in it.
Well, this is off of that document right here. That this is the page out of that document. This.
Do you want me to read it?
See. Yeah, if you want to read it, see if we got anything in here.
All right, I'm gonna do my best because I'm looking on a screen that's like an inch big. Okay. So it says the White House, Washington. Memorandum for the file. Subject Cuba Nat Law on January 10th, 1963, of records of the special in something C2 group. On January 10th of 1963, the writer reviewed in the offices of Mr. Tom Parrott, Executive Secretary Special NSC Group, the records of the special group when Mr. Parrott's identified as relating to consideration given by the special group to something and covert attention operations with regard to Cuba. Attached hereto is a copy supplied by Mr. Parrott from his records of a memorandum for the record dated October 21st of 1962 on the subject reconnaissance of Cuba, with Mr. Parrott had prepared for another purpose. There follows a detailed summary of the results of a review made by the writer of the Cuba Atima, referred to in Mr. Parrott's summary memorandum, and other issue with which the writer reviewed in the special group records pertaining to Cuba. Minutes of meetings of the special group. Mongoose. Have you heard about the group, the Mongoose group?
I think it is Operation Mongoose.
Yeah.
I think that that guy that was in prison talked about that.
Okay.
Yeah,
knew
he
I'd heard it.
mentioned Operation Mongoose.
So it says those present were the Attorney General, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Gilpatrick, Mr. McCone, General Carter, General Lenitzer, General Landell, and Dr. Klein for part of the meeting. The group noted a paper presented by the State Department member opening outline for a post-Castro political program. General Lindell briefed the group on the number of agents now in Cuba, including legal residents, plus infiltrated teams. It was decided that the CIA proposal for resupply of the agent team and possibly the resistance groups should be deferred pending a broader review of the entire situation. General
Here it is.
Taylor
Here it is.
specified, however,
Here's Operation Mongoose. The Cuban project, also known as Operation Mongoose, was an extensive campaign of terrorist attacks against civilians and covert operations carried out by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency in Cuba. It was officially authorized on November 30th, 1961, by President John F. Kennedy.
I thought he didn't want to have nothing to do with Cuba. That's interesting.
They went behind his back and started a bunch of shit like several different times. Like they were supposed to be training troops. They were training troops to send over there, but they wasn't supposed to be going over there to start a war. They were supposed to go over there and take back over their country, and instead they wanted to drag us into it. They wanted, and Kennedy didn't want nothing to do with it, so he trained a bunch of their own people to send them back over there. You know, like we should be doing with a lot of these countries. We should be training their people instead of bringing them here, let them make their America in Mexico, you know, and send them back home and let them take over their damn government and have their own America.
Well,
But
you
anyway,
saw that's what they're
basically what they were
doing.
doing.
Well, that's what they're doing now. That one president, what was it like where they were sending people that were part of the MS-13 gang back over was it El Salvador maybe?
Yeah, it was
And
El Salvador.
he's like locking all of the gang members up, and they said it's peaceful now in the streets. But anyway.
Yeah, but you know, that's because of the El Salvadoran president, and the people finally got sick of it and they stood up, and they're actually making their country great now. And
Yeah.
but that's basically what Kennedy was trying to do, is militarize the people there and send them back and let them take over their country themselves. Well, instead of doing that, they pulled off a bunch of crap, which you can watch in that video that me and you reviewed of that guy in prison. He talks about it. He helped train them.
Yeah.
So he was the guy that helped train these guys in Operation Mongoose. Like, there's a reason why I played that guy's interview. I watched the whole interview and the stuff that he did in the military. Like they said, Lee Harvey Oswald and all these guys were trained in the military. That guy came straight over from training people in Vietnam
Yeah.
to training people in Operation Mongoose. But what's this got to do with the Kennedy assassination?
Well, I mean, I suppose it all ties together because you have to know the history of what was going on
Yeah,
before you understand.
but is that really what anybody wants?
No,
People
well,
want to
no.
know the truth. People want to know who killed him. They don't want to know this back analog story, which would be nice if someone could put this together in a way that could show it all coming together and leading into the assassination. But that still leaves the people that actually did it are still out here in our government. They passed the baton after they died to the
Yeah,
people that were left in the organizations that they were under. These things didn't just simply disappear. It's it's just part of the military industrial complex.
yeah,
And this right here is just a shit show. I mean, yeah, he's releasing everything, but he can't he can't release what he don't have,
right,
and he don't have testimony of the people that actually did this shit. So I mean, here we are with a bunch of. I mean, I don't understand how this was even put into a file of JFK. If you want to have files of JFK's presidency, that's one thing, but files about him being assassinated should be separate. I
right.
mean, you got the James Warren Commission stuff. Like, we could go directly to that, I do believe, in here. Um, the Warren Commission report, you know, but it's basically the same bullshit as the Warren Commission is made up of the same people who killed him.
Yeah,
It's like trying to get the fox to protect the hen house.
yeah.
Here's assassination reports review board report. Put this up so y'all can see what I'm seeing.
I can't
But
see.
I think it's just despicable that they would do this to people, because after you go through a couple of PDF files, like, you're going to be like, I can't make heads or tails of what any of this shit is.
Right.
Transmitted letter from President Clinton.
What?
Damn, they got assassination records review board.
Lord have mercy.
I mean, like, oh, first we got to run these files over here to the people that actually carry out the assassinations and see if it's okay if we release it.
Like, what the fuck?
Like, we got to make sure we run this by them first. I'll start with the final report here and see what. Oh my God! What the hell?
What the hell? Damn it, Bobby.
Let's see. I guess this is good if you want to copy and paste this in Grok and make a video game. I'm not trying to do all that. I'm kind of curious about this President Clinton thing.
A transmittal letter. Well, Monica Lewinsky was under the desk and her mouth was open.
And I handed her the Cuban from Castro himself. It had a little bit of
Oh,
powder
boy.
on the end of it, but it was the good
Oh my
kind.
God! Stop. We're gonna get canceled.
Little numbing powder.
Stop it.
It says, we have the honor of presenting the final report, Assassination Records Review Board. The review board has successfully completed its work as mandated by the President, John F. Kennedy Records Collection Act of 1992. All them good numbers. The review board has worked hard to obtain all records relating to the assassination of President Kennedy. Well, can we just have those? Wouldn't it be nice to just have those instead of all this other bullshit?
Right. I think he was supposed to release them at one point, but then never did. So that might be what this is about.
They want to release it to the fullest extent possible to the American people. The board and its staff contributed significant professional and personal time to this important effort. Yeah, they got paid to fucking do a job.
Right.
Good for them. Like the papers ain't sitting in a damn drawer. Oh, look at the hard work we did. Just says JFK right there. Open that up. There you go. Oh, it says top secret. We got to shut it back.
Yeah.
Or we read the documents in a skiff and found that no one needs to know what the fuck happened.
Pretty much.
We know exactly what happened, but we can't tell you because you got to be in a skiff.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo bullshit.
It's a bunch of malarkey.
This was basically his executive order to have them do a report.
Yeah. It's a bunch of nothing.
Yeah. I think there might be something in here, but it's buried in 2,000 something page PDF files. It's not pages. It's PDF files. So
yeah,
it's even worse.
See, that's a table of contents that goes on for how many pages, and it's just for this PDF file. This PDF file has 11 pages, and it's just a table of contents, I assume. So it might tell you what I mean, but I don't know that you could search for those documents specifically.
Yeah, that's what's on this PDF file, I get, or I think it's all table of contents. Yeah.
So maybe that goes through everything.
Yeah, 205 pages.
Does it say specifically the assassination anywhere? I mean, I'd have to look at it, I suppose. I know you can't, like, go through it right now.
John F. Kennedy Library. U.S. Postal Service. Like, what the fuck? Department of Air Force. Like, this is just nonsense. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a big nothing burger. It's a nothing burger, but it's not. It's
Right.
so buried that the work it's going to take to uncover anything, or they just gave them a bunch of documents with nothing in it. Oh,
Yeah.
JFK Files? You said files. You didn't say assassination files. So we'll just give you all the JFK files.
Yeah.
That and you know that they keep his notes that they take and everything. Like Trump, um, I think he had like a notebook or something like that that he took home with him, and the archive wanted it back because they archive everything.
Yeah.
So that's basically what you got here is an archive of everything
Yeah.
JFK related. It's not
Yep.
the assassination. It probably has some assassination stuff in there, but it's not in plain view, that's for sure. Like
Yeah,
the only thing
absolutely.
I could say is the Warren Commission report would be your best bet to start there. Go to the people that killed him and see if they want to tell you.
Yeah. Which they're not, obviously.
The shots from the Texas school book, that's where Oswald was supposedly at instead of
Yeah.
on the bathroom on a boat. But he was supposedly with them, that guy in prison was saying.
Yeah. It says chapter 2 is the assassination.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and then you get all 100 other PDFs.
Advanced preparation for the Dallas trip. Preemptive intelligent activities.
Um.
That could have something in it. Dallas before the visit, motorcade route.
Oh,
Insurance.
at the bottom, the drive through Dallas, and then the assassination, the time, speed of right there. No, down is the assassination, and then it tells you the time. I don't know what
Speed of
documents we'll
the
get.
limousine and the presidential limousine.
Reaction by
Reaction by
Secret Service.
yeah.
So that's just going through the events of the day. It's not necessarily going to tell you who did it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like in the autopsy, I wonder if they found mercury.
That would be interesting. Oh, Jiminy Cricket. Is it like 700 pages?
Oh, I don't know. Um, no.
Well, they're not showing us the autopsy. Oh, of course we can't get the actual autopsy. It revealed 2 wounds in the president's head. One wound, approximately 1/4 an inch by 5/8 inch by 15 millimeters, was located about an inch to the right and slightly above
The eye was it?
the large bony protrusion external basically.
Yeah, that's where
Um,
that one guy said he shot him.
which juts out the center lower part of the back of the skull. The second
Yeah.
head wound measured approximately 5 inches, 13 centimeters, in its greatest diameter, but was difficult to measure accurately because multiple crisscross fractures radiated from the large defect 280 during autopsy.
So the first shot, the shots came together, and it's hard to tell where one exited or whatever.
Yeah,
But it does say that it was two shots.
yeah. The surgeons observed through X-ray analysis 30 to 40 tiny dust-like fragments of metal running in a line from the wound in the rear of the president's head towards the front part of the skull, with a sizable metal fragment lying just above the right eye. From the head wound, 2 small, irregularly shaped fragments of metal were recovered and turned over to the FBI. The autopsy also disclosed a wound near the base of the back of President Kennedy's neck, slightly to the right of the spine. The doctors traced the course of the bullet through the body, and as information was received from Parkland Hospital, concluded that the bullet had emerged from the front portion of the president's neck that had been cut away by the tracheotomy at Parkland. The nature and characteristics of this neck wound and 2 head wounds are discussed fully in the next chapter. So somebody shot him in the neck and somebody shot him in the head? Hey, he'll sound the light.
I think the shot went in, okay, like an SKS round.
Uh-huh.
I do. Like that's stuff that they used in Vietnam. The caliper bullet and stuff had a really long lead on it, and when they shot you with it, the shit could go in your shoulder and end up coming out your damn knee. Like the bullet would go in and then take a dive and just go through your whole body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so one of the bullets was possibly shot like that, or it was his wife shooting him because she would have had to stand up and shoot down after the first shot. Maybe she stood up and shot him and then put the gun behind the seat. You know, because he was, I mean, she was, what do you call it? When the wife catches you cheating on somebody, and you know, she wasn't in a good state of mind in public eye. Everyone knew that he was seeing Marilyn Monroe and all that stuff, and she probably had enough of all that crap, and she probably had a plan to take his ass out too.
Yeah.
Because of the embarrassment, you know, he caused her.
Yeah.
And she probably ended up sleeping with, you know, one of their guards. Secret Service, and they probably helped her off him too. They wanted to make sure he was dead.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's all that's on that one.
Mm-hmm.
At least we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's describing some of the stuff. There's some stuff here on the side too. I wonder what the conclusion is. He died. Let's see.
Yeah.
Swearing in of the new president. Like, that's a really convenient place to put something. with the
I
autopsy.
don't. Heel Sender. Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand why that would be included in this, because swearing in of the new president would be the new president's file.
Yeah, and they got it in the below the end of the trip.
Yeah.
Return to DC and autopsy. First, we're going to swear him in, then return to DC and do an autopsy.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be Lyndon B. Johnson on the plane.
I'm just kind of curious what the summary and conclusion.
We watched a couple of videos. We've been trying to figure it out because it's a bunch of mess on there that they put it in there in a way that's like you have to dig for God knows years before you find anything. It's just so much.
I mean, you can go to the commission report and get some stuff, but it's going to be the basic stuff. It's kind of like Cash said. There's like, he said, Cash says basically there's nothing that you don't already know
Yeah.
in the unclassified documents, but that's coming from someone that knows what's in the documents.
Yeah.
Regular people don't really know the full story and the layout of everything of the documents, like they do. Like Cash is
Right.
really, really smart. Like Cash Patel, that guy has got a memory like no other. Like he can remember all the names, all the files, and how they went together and exactly what happened. But there needs to be somebody out here putting this stuff together. Like our government should have a committee that puts this together in a full story, but then you have to trust that committee to actually.
Right.
Are they going to say, yeah, the CIA hired the mob to kill JFK, and it was all part of the Mossad agents? Everyone was involved. It's like everyone wanted a piece of that pie,
Right.
which is really weird.
Yeah.
But this is basically all we got in here, EO. Like, there's a lot of documents, but on your first page, like, this is the Warren Commission report. This is the section where everything is. Like, here's where you get to the Warren Commission report. And House Committee Assassination report. Like, I thought he was supposed to put something together. Like, they're supposed to be putting something together for the guy that tried to assassinate Trump too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the whole point of all this was to get the stuff out there and then come back with the conclusion of how this stuff actually happened.
Well, God knows if they put something together on the one who tried to shoot Trump, it'll start with like, well, once there was a man in a bar and he met a woman, and then there was an egg and there was a sperm, and like,
Yeah,
God Almighty. This is
yeah, and the documents, that they would give you every document ever made on Trump, and it'll be nothing but Russia collusion and all kinds of stuff before you actually get to the part where he killed him. Like,
yeah.
check this out, Heo. Like, this is where they start you off. Each one of these are PDF files, and there's 235 of them. So
Yep.
it's a bunch of crap to have to go through. There's no way the news media went through all this stuff. Now you could go over here and just go through the Warren Commission report or House Select Committee assassination report. I think that was something that was supposed to be gone over.
Oh Lord. Oh, they're still adding to it.
Oh, really?
That's insane.
Well, they're probably able to add to it because of the release of documents. But like I said, if like all those other documents we were reading at first, it's hard to tell what's what when you don't know what a lot of the letters and numbers even mean. You know what it relates to in their little rule books and code books
Yeah.
for code. You know, like they can declassify, but only a person that worked for the agency could tell you exactly what it means because they got those little codes and stuff like that through the PDF file that links you to what it actually means
Right.
and clarification and stuff like that to why it's in there. All that stuff would be answered through those codes, I do believe, because it's not right there in plain sight.
Yep.
I think there should be, like, when they do stuff like this, there ought to be a page set aside to where, you know, they read it to you like you're in 10th grade or something.
Yeah.
You know, read it to me like I'm stupid, okay? Because I'm not a CIA agent. I don't know how these things go together, but I want to know how they go together. And, you know, someone should be giving people clarity. Like, you'll see a lot of, but it's the sad part is you're only really going to find what they want you to know
Yep.
because they didn't write down anything they didn't want you to know.
Nope.
Like, oh, today we stopped by the Chicago mob and asked them to do a hit, you know, and they agreed, you know.
Yeah, I would be very
That
surprised to find that in there.
I don't
But I
think
know
there's
that's what
any
happened.
paperwork.
Yep.
Well, like that video I showed you all ago of that one guy um, on the Brave podcast. Um, he was like, oh, he told him, he's like, it was you guys on the grassy knoll. And this guy right here, I'll show you.
Oh wow. She said social security numbers of individuals involved in past investigations were released in these, and now the National Archives are potentially in trouble. Well, sorry, no redactions, CIA. So it's led to major shifts in the historical narrative. Nothing groundbreaking so far, from what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got your social security number nowadays. People are really making a big deal. Like, it's so easy to get people's stuff nowadays. It's retarded. Like,
Don't use that word.
well, it's
Really
you got to
easy.
have some kind of mental problem to not think that hundreds of people see your information when you fill out a job application, when you file your taxes,
Yeah.
um, like, and then all that stuff's up in DC, like people scrounging through it, trying to come
Yeah.
after you for stuff that they can. But listen what this mob guy says. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. I got to share it.
Hold on just a minute.
Here we go.
With John F. Kennedy and the involvement of mafia, you know, and I've heard so many different stories. What do you know about what happened with John F. Kennedy?
I don't really know. There's so many people who were possible candidates for that. But to make it into a shorter story, the FBI, when I had cooperated, came to me, and I was in Quantico, and they said, "This guy's going to come down to you and ask you some really high-level questions." I said, "All right." They came down, a bunch of guys in suits, and they said the same thing you said. "What do you know about Kennedy?" Is that it? Yeah. From what I understand, you guys should know. You guys participated in this hit. It wasn't a mafia dude on that grassy hill. You people, whoa, scrub this.
See what he said right there? He was like, whoa, 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 scrub this.
Yeah.
So you're not going to find it in a document.
Right.
You're not going to find where they went and talked to this guy in a document because they
Right.
scrubbed that shit.
Yep.
I bet he'll like this one right here, though. I'll let her watch this one too while she's in here. It's on a commercial, so you're not missing nothing.
I love commercials.
Yeah,
You like
especially
my big
YouTube
brain?
commercials.
You think my
You
big
want to
brain
know
is
how to
smexy? What?
you want to know how to do your crypto, file your crypto taxes.
Oh, that's something I need to know. I saw that you were talking about Miss K, girl. We got to talk.
There you go.
Talked about Kennedy's assassination. You said Frank Sinatra, who's a good friend of yours, was the go-between with the mob and the Kennedys. JFK and Sinatra were great pals.
Well, yeah, I was early on with that when he was senator. I used to go to Vegas every other weekend, and I saw them all there. And Bobby, not Bobby, but John. Bobby was not a part of it until he got elected, but John was a great guy, man. I didn't know who the target was. I thought it was going to be Bobby, because I remember flying. One of my last trips, I flew to Dallas, and somebody picked me up that I knew and took me 30 miles out, and I had a suitcase, and I knew it was full of money, and I dropped it off, came home, saw Costello that morning, and that night is when Lyndon Baines Johnson announced he's going to be the running mate, because they made a deal with him, because they were very optimistic. They said, John will do the first 8 and you'll do the next 8, because they already had Truman at that time. They already had Nixon. The mob owned those guys. That's why when they wanted Jimmy Hoffa out of prison, Nixon pardoned him, because he found God, and he was going to come out and get rid of Frank Fitzsimmons, because we just borrowed like almost $200 million of the brothers' pension fund to build Las Vegas.
Well, you said my errand to Marcello was involved in the master plan to assassinate Kennedy. I'd played a role, small as it was, while I was literally only the messenger.
Yeah, I mean, I could, and again, with Costello being 2 steps ahead of everybody, when I met him, and I came back after seeing Marcellus, I brought an envelope to him. I had to go to the bathroom, and he said, somebody's in there. So I was staying at the bar because the bathroom door was right there. And when the guy came out, he bumped into me. I paid no attention to the guy. I went to the bathroom, went to see Marcellus, and I was about to sit down, have a great dish of pasta vongole, because the chef knew I liked it. And he said, no, get back to New York. So I went right back to New York. And I said, what's the message? He said, it's on. I said, that's the whole message. He said, he'll know what it is. So I meet him the next morning, and he said, what's the message? I said, it's on. So he had a manila envelope with about $15,000 in cash for me and some paperwork. He said, I signed you on the Independence, the ship. I said, where am I going? He said, just don't worry about it. The first port is going to be Barcelona, Spain. Get off.
Oh, you ain't heard nothing yet, Hio. Wait until he gets into the details.
Off the boat. Somebody will meet you there. It's okay. I never asked him any questions. I was traveling all over the world, had a great life. And I know by other people, if they asked him a couple of questions, he'd get pretty annoyed with them. So I didn't want to, I didn't want to lose this guy. So now I'm on the boat. We're going under the Verrazano Bridge, and they announce on the PA system that the president was shot, not killed yet. And all the pilot boats came. People were getting off the boat, men, basically, because this was a 30-day trip. And I'm saying to myself, all these broads are going to be on the boat. Man, it's all these broads. I loved it. Not realizing the seriousness. The next morning, they had a newspaper on the ship. And the guy that came out of the bathroom was Lee Harvey Oswald. That was Marcellus, the shooter. Chicago shooter was the kill shooter.
Did you hear that? Lee Harvey Oswald come out of the bathroom on the boat, but yeah, he was in Texas.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Not realizing the seriousness. The next morning, they had a newspaper on the ship. And the guy that came out of the bathroom was Lee Harvey Oswald. That was Marcellus, the shooter. Chicago shooter was the kill shooter. The kill shot was Johnny Roselli. He was in the storm sewer. But it wasn't until years later when
you remember the other guy we watched that was in prison, who he worked for or with?
Yep.
That was the guy that actually shot him. He's trying to say it was the other guy and he was in a storm drain or some shit, but that's not the case. That guy didn't even get dirty. That guy wasn't going to get dirty. He was the big guy,
Yeah. And the trajectory of the bullet doesn't, I don't think you could do it from a storm drain down below,
Well, I think it was gradually going downhill. Now, he said that he told him that the target, you remember the guy in the prison was telling him that the target's going to be moving away from him. So he's going to have to aim like a foot above his head or something like that.
Yeah.
In that interview. So he could have been in a drain up on the hill. And as the car went down the hill, it would come into his head would come into view and he could pop it.
Maybe. She said, do you think they all go around telling different stories to continue the confusion even all these years later? I think it's very possible.
I don't think the one thing that goes on in the mob and how they do business is they don't want to know too much about what really happened.
Right.
So that way,
what was that?
When they get questioned, they don't really know because they don't know. So they only get told so much, and the rest of it's just speculative from him, like saying he was shooting through the drain. Now there were more than one shot. We've seen it on the autopsy, report that we just read, that there was more than one bullet.
It sounded like you farted. I'm sure it was your stomach growling, but it did sound like that.
Who?
You just a second ago, it went.
No, I was moving in my chair.
See, she said, "Excuse me, okay, my tummy hurts. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to laugh."
I would have claimed it.
That was a good one. You would have claimed it.
Yeah, I would have claimed that one.
Lord have mercy. Oh yeah, but they do. Sorry, to get back on subject. I apologize. Yeah, they do things a certain way. You don't ask questions. You don't talk about the stuff too much. Absolutely. So they might all legitimately be confused.
Well, you can tell this guy here. He was a young cat back in them days.
Yeah.
He's still got that mentality because most people in that world, they hold that mentality. Look at his slicked that back hair, just like that guy in prison, he didn't even want to put his glasses on because in his time, it made you look like a nerd and all that stuff. He wanted to keep that mentality going. That's why he kept his long hair and stuff like that, because he was part of this crew, man. They're gruesome ass people.
Yep.
And you remember what the guy said in prison? He is like, these guys are telling you, remember we came by your house and we dropped your envelopes. So anytime they say envelopes, it was a wad full of money.
Yeah.
Like, and he's sitting there basically saying the same thing,
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
So, but the weirdest shit is Lee Harvey Oswald coming out of the bathroom on a boat. Isn't it like, I mean, they were on a boat going overseas, wasn't they?
Yeah, to Spain.
Yeah, in Spain.
They were going to Barcelona. I think that's in Spain, but they were in the Independence Harbor, and he said they got everybody off the boat because the president had been shot. But then Lee Harvey Oswald came out of the bathroom. So, I mean, I don't know how quickly they got him or where they got him at. It would depend on that, how quickly they got Lee Harvey Oswald and arrested him.
Well, you got to think about how long if it just happened and it just he said the newspaper come out the same day he come out of the bathroom.
Yeah.
So, and he was overseas. And back then, you didn't get overseas real quick, like.
No.
That was a pretty long flight.
Yeah.
So in order to fly his ass right back over here and hold him like he just shot someone in Dallas, that's just weird to me. I've never heard that story before.
I haven't either. It is very weird.
Well, I think I'm going to end the live there.
Okay.
And appreciate everybody stopping by and taking a look at the documents with us. Maybe we can cover a little more of this. And I'd like to cover that Danny Jones podcast. And I'd like to dig into this deeper on our own without the documents, because really, like they said, like that one guy said, they expunged that from the documents. Anything that really has any kind of evidence in it, they erased that crap long time ago.
Yeah.
If they ever wrote it down. That's how no one, if you knew, you knew. That's how it got around back then. If you knew, you knew.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate you letting me come up and look at this stuff with you. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, it's nice to have a kind voice on the YouTube channel here, and it's very attractive for men to come in and listen to you chat and read. It's nicer when a woman reads than when a man reads. I don't know. It's easier on the ears.
Aw, that's so sweet. I am married.
Chill, bro. Chill. All right. Okay. I'm ending this crap now.
All right.
Later. And keep an eye out for my next video, because you never know when one's going to drop.
All right. We'll see you next time.
It's all for one investigates, because it's all for one or all for nothing.